Today we have John Reed and Gary Coben with Evolve IP to discuss securely accessing company data. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Am I ready to start?
You are. It's all you.
Okay. So, hi, everybody. My name is Gary Coben. I'm Evolve IP's channel chief. And John Reed, who manages our relationship with Claris and TDM, he's with us as well. This is going to be a brand new presentation. You're not going to have ever seen anything like this before, as I was telling everybody prior to the call. I hope you have questions. We probably will not have time to answer them, but I promise you that you do want to ask them. And we will, even if we have to do it via email, we'll get you the answers. John and I will also be in Louisville next month. We're looking forward to that. So hopefully we'll get a chance to meet you guys in person. All right. So coming out of last year, there was a few things that we learned, and I want to sort of cover those right away. For those of you that have been in the business a long time, the days of selling $25 UCaaS seats are over. So we've witnessed the commoditization of UCaaS. I think nobody on this call goes to as many channel events as I do. There is an event that I go to where there isn't a greater focus on cybersecurity. Almost every event I go to, there's discussions about artificial intelligence. I think most importantly, though, while the pandemic may be 3 years removed, its impact in terms of our remote and hybrid work experience for not only us, but for all of our clients will likely remain with us for the rest of our lives. As I was packing up the boxes for the trip to Louisville yesterday, I was the only person in my corporate headquarters. Kind of sad. The bottom line in all of this is it's certainly getting harder to earn a buck. So one of the things that we've done at Evolve IP is to lean into two of the biggest challenges that are facing the IT leadership of, your customers and frankly, what Claris is dealing with right now. And that's, how do I manage my now largely remote workforce and get the most out of my limited IT resources in the face of a challenging, let's say, an election economy? So I'm not here to talk about UCaaS. I'm not here to talk about artificial intelligence. I'm not here to talk about CX. I'm talking about, is there a better alternative to premises-based IT? And so that there's no mystery here, premises-based IT is PCs and servers. And this is going to be an opportunity for you to open up an enormous revenue opportunity that exists between you and your customers and prospects. So a little comedy here just to get things started. I hope you all know who this guy is, that I'm not, don't remind me that I'm the oldest guy on the telephone. This is Ronald Reagan, who was like our 38th president. He was actually president in 1980. And what's important about that is 1980 was the very last time that we had any changes to the way IT is, right? It's what they call, that's when client server came out. So let's make sure I let you know right up front what I hope to accomplish over the next 25 minutes. I'm trying to create a win-win for you and your client. So let's look at that real quick. You know what your customer wants? Your customer wants the same things they've always wanted. They want to save money, they want to save time, and they want to build a more secure environment for their customers and their employees alike. That looks like 3 wins that every customer wants: save money, save time, better security. This wouldn't be a win-win unless you got something out of this. So what do you want? You want the same 3 things you've always wanted too. You want to earn more money. You want to get as much wallet share as possible. And you want to keep that money for a really long time. I hope to accomplish all 6 of these over the next now 24 minutes. So let's jump right in. When I talk about legacy IT, when I talk about the old way, when I talk about what does it mean when companies are running PCs and servers? Well, let me break down the steps for you. So somebody in IT goes out, they buy a bunch of PCs, they buy a bunch of servers, they stand up a bunch of users, they set up a firewall. You know, the PCs come in, they unbox them, and before they hand them out, of course, they got to put on an antivirus program, right? Right. They got to put on a web security program. Since everybody's working from home, they all have to have a VPN license. And now somebody on the team's also going to be responsible for managing security. And I think about this, like no one on this call has ever gone to Best Buy, bought a PC and plugged it in and went to work. It doesn't work that way. You know, you take the PC out and you got to put all this stuff on it. But we're not done yet, obviously, because in today's world, you got to have a really strong data backup strategy, you know, because God forbid you should get, some kind of virus or some type of ransomware. It's the backup that's going to keep the business going. You know, when you look at this between antivirus, web filtering, VPNs, you got to manage licensing. Storage is one of those things where you got to have it when you need it, but you don't want to pay for it when you don't. So somebody on IT is responsible for optimizing the storage. Somebody in IT is responsible for keeping the different applications that you use up to date. And here's the real expensive part. Somebody's got to do the maintenance, right? And somebody's got to do all the security patching. When when at night, when all of a sudden your computer says, don't shut me off, Windows is doing an update, that doesn't arrive magically. Somebody pushed that to you. Now, if all this wasn't complicated enough, PCs and servers are not like buying diamonds and Rolexes. At the end of 3 years, guess what? We get to start all over again. So in light of the pandemic, in light of the fact that this is really costly, it is time that we take this, toss it away, and look at a new way of thinking about IT. And what's unique about this new way is that, one, it's fully managed by somebody other than the customer. Two, it's infinitely more secure than plugging a PC into a cable modem. And what most people don't realize, it is less expensive than buying premise-based IT. And I'll prove that out momentarily. So what does every customer want? Of course, we've already talked about this. Every customer wants to save time, save money, and produce a more secure environment for their customers and their employees. So what we did is we put together a bundle, right? For $100 a person. You get a lot for $100 a person. First thing you get is you get a virtual desktop. Instead of a premise-based PC, you're getting a virtual PC. and we'll give this virtual PC. If your customer likes VM, we'll give them VM. If they like Citrix, we'll give them Citrix. If they want it launched privately, we'll do it privately. If they want it publicly, we'll stand it up in Azure. This bundle also includes 3 servers. It's got your Active Directory and domain controller times 2. And it's got your file server. And the file server's got 1.1 terabits of storage for every 100 users. As we saw on the previous slide, you got to have backup. This has full managed backup with Veeam. It includes the Microsoft licensing that everybody needs, which for those of you Microsoft people on the phone, that's an E3 and a Microsoft phone system license. And why a Microsoft phone system license? Because we're giving them UCaaS with this bundle as well. So we're giving them direct routing with unlimited usage. So we're gonna cover their desktop needs, their server needs, their storage needs, their backup licensing, their voice needs, and we're going to round this all out by giving them the point security elements that they need. Antivirus, Trend Micro, web security, Cisco Umbrella. We're going to give them a firewall, and we're going to give them Enable for remote monitor and manage. And we're going to give it to them all for $100 per person per month. What's interesting about this is that it's cheaper. And why is it cheaper? So when you go to Best Buy to buy a new PC, the first thing you should do is you look to see, well, how much am I using on my present PC? So you hit the start button, you see what's my active RAM. It says, okay, you're using 8 gig. Well, you wouldn't go buy an 8 gig machine because you want it to last. So you tend to buy something that's much bigger than what you actually are using today. But in the cloud, you don't have to do that because resources are delivered on demand. So you're paying only for the resources that you need, because in 10 minutes, you can get more resources. And if you're getting 3 years or 4 years or 5 years out of your existing PC, you can go ahead and double that, because this is virtual. That means that your CPU, RAM, disk, and operating system are coming from Evolve IP. Now, I'm going to prove this out, but take my word for it for now. This is less expensive than PCs and servers. Well, let's talk about security for a second. When you have a PC network, it's called edge-based computing. I'm sitting at my house, I'm doing my work, I upload that work to the server. That's called the edge back to the core. Now your desktop is being served out of the core. Core-based computing is always more secure than edge-based computing. So this becomes actually a key step in deploying a modern security solution in what we call our post-pandemic economy. Now, in a cloud desktop and a cloud server, the data is in the data center. You log in, you do your work, you log out. It doesn't go to the device. So that means if you lose the device, yes, it's a pain in the behind, but you're now immune to losing data, right? And speaking of that data, in our world, the data is encrypted while it's sleeping and while it's traveling. So you no longer need to run a VPN either. Now, last but not least, think about this a second. Let's visualize this. Your company orders 200 PCs. They drop them off on a pallet. And somebody says to you, provision them and get them ready for the employees. The average time to provision a PC is 3 to 4 hours, right? So 200 PCs is somewhere between 600 and 800 hours to actually provision them. In the cloud, 10 minutes on a bad day to provision 200 PCs. All right. What are the big problems that cloud solves, right? And same 3 categories. I can work anywhere from any device without the need to buy new hardware every 3 years or 4 years. So I'm going to save money. What we talked about earlier, the time to implement and support a virtual environment is measured in sort of minutes rather than days and weeks, right? And what does that do? Well, how many IT departments have people sitting around all day? They want to, the work they want to get to, the building the new website and the social media presence and search engine optimization. We're finally going to give them the time so they can focus on the things that are important rather than important things. Of course, the idea is, because the desktops and the servers and the applications are being serviced from the core, the device really doesn't matter, right? Whatever the device is, you want to use your existing PC, you want to use the thin client, you want to use an iPad, you want to use a Chromebook. The device doesn't matter because all of the computing is being done in the core. And the data always stays in the data center, allowing the elimination of that rotten VPN license we all hate. A few weeks ago, you guys may have heard about the CrowdStrike incident, right? Um, I pulled this quote from CNN. Um, what happened was CrowdStrike deployed um, a file that had that was corrupt, and it caused Windows to crash. The CEO of CrowdStrike, first thing he says is, we were not breached, but they went on to say, but fixing the problem, if you'll see in quotes, could not be gracefully handled. Okay. Now, what's interesting about the CrowdStrike issue is it wasn't a breach, but it does talk about the fragility, how fragile our IT environment was, because this code, once read, caused Windows to crash, and 8.5 million files need to 8.5 million devices needed to be fixed, one device at a time. The image you see on the left, because Delta got a lot of bad press, that when you go to the airport and get a copy of your boarding pass, that's a Windows machine, right? It's not some magical ticket kiosk. It's a computer. And every one of those had to be fixed one at a time. Could we have handled this differently? You bet. The thing about DaaS is what they call a one-to-many architecture. I deploy an application and boom, it immediately becomes available to my 200 users. I deploy a fix, same proposition, right? That one-to-many architecture, it allows you to provision 200 users in 10 minutes and not 800 hours. It allows you to deploy security fixes also in minutes as opposed to days and weeks. So I wanted to side note that. All right. Probably the single most complicated slide in this deck, and we're coming to the end here. Let me check the time. Good. What I've basically done here, let me explain this to you. And I did this through the engineers at Telarus, the engineers at Avant, the engineers at Intelisys, my IT department, our clients. I went to a bunch of people and I said, let's go ahead and put together everything that I would need to deploy 100 PCs and 3 servers. I want to deploy the equivalent of my bundle, right? So basically, all the cost items are in the second column. And what we needed to do is we needed to take licensing, capital costs, labor costs, and convert it all to an average cost per user per month. Right? I'm going to hit the math problems up for a second here. And let me explain this to you. So those first 5 line items, antivirus, web filtering, RMM, firewall, and VPN, they're already licenses, right? They already cost. Antivirus costs $3 a month, whether you have a premise-based environment or a virtual environment. So basically, when you're converting what those current costs are to an average cost per month, we're just moving the figures from the second column to the third column. Well, think about this, though. On the next 3 ones, it says security and patching, desktop maintenance, server maintenance. First thing I did is, if you go to Google and you say, what's the average time we spend on server maintenance for a 100-person company? And Google gives you a range of 1 to 10 hours per month. Now, something like desktop maintenance could be Mary Lou calling the help desk saying, I can't launch Excel. So I said, all right, let's go at the lowest, most conservative number. Let's say that somebody in IT spends an hour doing desktop maintenance. Okay. Well, what's that person make? The CIO doesn't do that work. The mid-level $75,000 a year guy does that work. Well, guess what? $75,000 a year divided by 52 weeks divided by 40 hours is $37.50 an hour. So if I spend 1 hour doing desktop maintenance, that costs $37.50. But if I want to know what the average cost per user per month is, I'm going to divide that by 100. So incrementally adding 37.5 cents. Same thing with the next two line items, servers, right? Servers cost between $2,000 and $3,500, more towards the last, but I used $2,000. And I said, okay, if I have to have Active Directory domain controller, and I need 2 servers for that, that's $4,000. It's going to last me 36 months, 3 years, divided by 100 users. What's the incremental add to the average cost per user? So I went through the same thing with the data backup and Microsoft licensing, and even UCAS. I used $7. I would say that if they're buying it today, it's $7. If they have it, existing, it's probably more like 12 or 15. Everything from PC to the PC I got to buy, to the time it's going to take to provision it, right? To the concept of the servers that I'm going to have to refresh. And which I left blank, by the way, just to be conservative. So, like I said, I've been through this with a lot of people. If you are a seller and you're used to talking to customers by saying, you know what, Mr. Customer, I can save you money. Guess what? This model works. This will save customers money. All right. So let's summarize real quick. I told you that I would, 1, save your customers money. I told you 2, I would save them time. I hope I proved that out. And I said 3, I could deliver a more secure environment for their customers and their employees. I think I was able to prove that out. But I still forgot to tell you about the other side of the win-win. It's what's in it for me. So let's talk about that a second. What you see here is you see 2 images. You see the one I talked about for $100. And if you said, I don't want to buy Microsoft, well, guess what? Whether you buy your Microsoft licenses from Evolve IP, you buy them from Microsoft, that'll make a difference. They still cost $23 for an E3 license and $8 for phone systems. So that's a $31, 68 bucks if you don't want Microsoft. Okay. But let's just keep it simple for the time being. I'm going to sell this to somebody with 100 users. It's $100 a user. That equals $10,000 a month. I pay Claris 20%. They're going to take whatever they need to take out of it. The rest goes to you. But let's just, for the sake of discussion, round that up to $2,000. Okay. If I sold 100 8x8, right, it's worth 500 bucks. This is the only product that you can sell that you're capturing so much wallet share, and it's worth a lot of money. So I got 100 users, $100 a user, $10,000. That's going to pay $2,000 a month in commission. So far, so good. It's also going to pay a 4x spiff. And there is nobody in the cloud computing business, which is the desktop and server, that pays a spiff. We're the only guys that pay a front end money. So again, 100 users, $100 a user, $10,000. That's going to pay $40,000 up front and $2,000 a month in residual comp. But not the best part. What's the best part? Well, guess what? When you sell a product that captures so much wallet share, the average tenure of an Evolve IP cloud computing and cloud voice customer is 10 years. Now that is, you want to earn more money, you want to get more wallet share, and you want to keep that money for a really long time. 2 slides left. Checking the clock. Perfect. Where's this working for us? We do a lot of business in healthcare with this, primarily because we are high trust certified. We do a lot of business in financial services. That's banking, credit unions, insurance companies, mortgage companies, brokerage houses. We do a lot of work in private equity because not only is this cost effective, at $99, it's very cost predictable. We do a lot of business in contact center because no one wants to spend $1,500 on a PC for, for an agent that's going to last 4 months. Very last slide, and then I'm done. We'll be out there with you guys in Louisville. We'll have some material with us and some swag, whatever. But if you did want to grab the data sheet, because the image itself is worth a million words, just show that to your customers. They all say the same thing. That's interesting, right? Because they all want to do the same. They want to consolidate. But you can scan that. You can get the QR code right there. You can scan that and grab the data sheet. And I am done. 12:59.
Well done. Hey, we do have a few questions. Do you mind answering a couple of them?
I would love to.
Okay, well, we'll go for the first two here. Does your product include unlimited help desk?
Yes. Now yes, but we are not a tier 1 organization. All right. So we work with MSPs, we work with IT departments. We're really a tier 2 organization. So, somebody else is responsible for answering answering Mary Lou. I can't launch Excel, but we're going to build it. We're going to migrate it. We're going to hand the keys to somebody, and we then become responsible for the platform. So yes, they can call support 24/7 by 365, but we're not taking end user calls.
All right. And the next question is, since you get a discount from MSFT on a year license, how do you compete?
We charge the exact same rates that Microsoft does. Now, that means that we can honor a 1-year agreement. What it doesn't mean is we can't do enterprise agreements, right? I mean, we are a Microsoft CSP, right? So we can sell all forms of Microsoft licensing, all forms of Azure licensing. But we can't do enterprise agreements. We can't do government license. We can't do not-for-profit licensing. What else?
All right, we'll do one more. Do you have case studies to support wins?
Yes. And John can send some of that stuff over for distribution.